Hey guys, and welcome to Minimalistik. You're currently looking at my brand new PC setup. Pretty cool, right? What if I told you you could build the same desk for around $80? Well, let's see if it's possible. Our journey will begin with a trip to Ikea, where almost all of the items I will use in this video can be found. For this desk, I went with the oddball trestle legs. These seemed solid while being cheap and looked great in my opinion. Then for the tabletop, I went for something special. Ikea has a sit-stand desk called Skarsta, which seems to be discontinued. What's cool is that you can buy only the tabletop, and although it is not advertised anymore, it was still available in the self-serve area of the Ikea I visited. While the 59-inch Linman tabletop is a good budget choice, this one is thinner, lighter, and more solid for only $10 more than the Linman. It's not as wide but deep enough for the legs we're using. It is priced at $40 here in Canada, so it should be equal or less than this in the US. Last item we'll buy is the Signum Rack, a small cable holder you can screw under your desk. Now that we've got everything, let's go back home. Please note that I also recommend buying Velcro cable ties as they're reusable and will match the black trestle legs we just bought. You can order these from Amazon. Let's start by building the legs, which is quite a simple process. I assemble the top part with the 4 legs, then I assemble the part that attaches all 4 legs together. And lastly, I attach the 4 legs to that last part I just built and we're done. I repeated the process for the second leg and we're now ready for the next step. I would suggest letting the tabletop on its packaging to prevent scratching it. The top part is facing down and the Signum Rack can now be screwed in. I recommend you to leave a few inches off the rear of the desk in case you want to have a monitor arm someday. I use the assembled Signum Rack to mark the holes by poking them using a screw. Then I remove the legs to have more room to work with my screwdriver. I then screwed the rack's legs to the tabletop and the bottom part of the rack can then be reattached to the legs. I will now put the tabletop over the trestle legs. Looks pretty cool. Then, there's one last thing I would do before installing your gear on your desk. You will need a power bar, and having it underground is a bad idea if you want the cleanest setup possible. While I could screw it under the desk, I prefer to have the least amount of holes in the tabletop. Instead, I used cable ties to attach it to one of the trestle legs. You'll have to attach 2 cable ties together like this as they're not long enough on their own. Using that method, the power bar is out of sight without any damage to the desk. Then, I routed its cable to the nearest power outlet and attached it along the leg so it's out of sight. Lastly, I attached what's left of the cable together with a Velcro cable tie and stacked it in the rack. Then comes the fun part, when you actually install your gear. I aim for a minimal look, so I'll try to have only the necessary gear on my desk and nothing more. So, I added the needed cables, starting by what's coming out of my PC. Here, I'm only using a power cable, a DisplayPort cable, and 2 USB cables. Then, using Velcro cable ties, I attached the cables that are long enough to hang on the floor. In my case, these are the power and DisplayPort cables. That process will simplify the routing of those long cables in the Signum Rack. Then I plugged all the cables that are needed by my peripherals and let these hang on the floor if they have to. We've got quite a mess there. Laying under the desk, I installed every remaining cable in the Signum Rack. Again, if possible, attaching together the cables that are too long is a good idea to leave you some space in the rack for future cables. So that's pretty much it for the desk. I'm really happy with the outcome and I think it's a solid desk for the price. It will be a solid base for your setup and will keep everything simple. Now, can this setup be improved? Oh yes, it can, and I'll start a series of videos about various tips to improve the clean and minimal aspect of this exact setup. And here's a quick peek of it after a few tips and tricks. Pretty cool, huh? Well, don't forget to subscribe to see how we'll get there. Hope you guys liked this video. Feel free to comment any improvement you see that could be done to this desk down below, and I'll be more than happy to see what you come up to. Thank you for watching, Please hit that like button if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe to Minimalistik for more minimal tech content, and see you in the next video.